Welcome to Hannity tonight. Yes, we are live from the swamp, the sewer that is Washington, D.C. Tonight, I can report the sky is absolutely falling. We are all doomed. The end is near. The apocalypse is imminent, and you're going to all die, all of you, in the next 48 hours. And it's all President Trump's fault. Or at least that's what the media mob and the Democratic Extreme Radical Socialist Party would like you to think. They are now sadly politicizing and actually weaponizing an infectious disease in what is basically just the latest effort to bludgeon President Trump. Now, many on the left are now all but rooting for corona to wreak havoc in the United States. Why? To score cheap, repulsive political points. Now, should we, let's look at this seriously. Absolutely. We have an obligation. This is who we are as a people, to do everything possible to keep every single American and, frankly, everyone worldwide safe and healthy. This is who we are as Americans. This is what we do. We pray for the sick. We do pray for the families that have lost loved ones. Absolutely. That's also who we are as a people. Now, we all want a cure for AIDS, cancer, heart disease, and every other disease and every other affliction. And we have, with our American doctors and researchers, we have led the entire world, and we have literally shared all of our discoveries, all of our cures with the entire world, because that's who we are as a people. But tonight, the fear-mongering is off the charts. Now, you have some on the left literally whipping this country into a frenzy, some promoting extreme measures immediately, close schools immediately, daycare centers, businesses, mass transit systems, and the cancellation of any large gathering. Now, if things do get dramatically worse, it may come to that. We are nowhere near that point as of tonight, thankfully. However, according to the mob and the media, well, your life is about to be horrible, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. One New York Times opinion columnist, actually, the New York Times, called the coronavirus the Trump virus, writing, if you're feeling awful, you know who to blame. Did Donald Trump create this in a lab somewhere? Now, another article in the New York Times complaining that Trump has a problem with the coronavirus, threatens the U.S., his credibility. Fake news, CNN's official Hannity stalker, known as Humpty Dumpty, got very melodramatic, tweeting out, quote, since the dawn of the Trump era, countless experts have warned that the president's lack of credibility would imperil the country in the event of an emergency. As the coronavirus outbreak worsens, those fears may be coming true. Humpty, relax. It's just quivering with fear with his stalker assistant, Oliver somebody, and he's a stalker. You see what's happening here? They seem to be hoping for panic, chaos, mass panic, devastation, and even an economic catastrophe. Oh, if it's bad for Trump, it's probably going to be good politically for us. Is that the thinking here? They seem to be giddy. Wall Street's decline. Wall Street is always skittish. Do they really care about our health, your well-being, your family's well-being? Do they care about your 401ks? Do they care about the truth? By the way, what have they done the last 3 years except hate Donald Trump every second, every minute, every hour of every 24-hour day, week, month? That's what they do. But anyway, you be the judge. Take a look.
Donald Trump's predecessors understood when the nation felt fear. If it was around a shooting, a death, a national catastrophe, they had an empathy. Donald Trump refuses to recognize that fear, and there's going to be a growing chasm between what Donald Trump and Mike Pence have to say about coronavirus and what the American people feel about it.
I regret having to say this, but we all know that President Trump, in the course of his service, has disrespected science and scientists, has told an awful lot of untruths.
Again, just a reminder, Japan, the prime minister there just asked all public schools to shut down for a month. That's how serious it is there. Imagine if that happened.
Well, also a reminder today has been a game changer.
This is shameful. Puts forth a proposal now that is meager, anemic.
4 words describe the administration's response to the coronavirus: towering and dangerous incompetence.
Never let a good tragedy or virus go to waste. Remember, according to the mob, and I've been telling you this, for Democrats and the media mob, if the dog bites, if the bee stings, if you're feeling sad, it's all President Trump's fault. How many times on this show have I said, if President Donald J. Trump cured cancer tomorrow, the left would want to impeach him for that because he might have consulted with a Russian or Ukrainian scientist. The same people wouldn't even find one good word to say, not one. when Iran's top terrorist, Soleimani, was taken out by President Trump. And now we're seeing the same brand of petty politics. Look, if we can't get the left to unite and the media to unite on killing a mass terrorist who killed hundreds of our fellow citizens, of Americans, if we can't unite and work together to keep our country safe from illness and disease and a virus, there's nothing we'll ever agree on. Many top Democrats are now spreading the lie that President Trump recklessly cut the budget for the NIH and the CDC. Well, hate to tell you, that is a lie. According to even the AP in their fact check, the funding has actually increased under the president. But why let the truth get in the way of an opportunity to bludgeon Trump? Make no mistake, coronavirus, it is dangerous. Those infected are contagious before they show symptoms during the incubation period. They don't know they have the disease. The rapid spread of the virus across continents, it is, of course, concerning. The president, he has been taking it seriously from day one. Way back in January, way before the Democrats seemed to care at all about the coronavirus, the White House declared a public health emergency. Then, you might recall, the president barred non-U.S. citizens who recently visited from China from entering the United States. Wow, that's something the left and the mob would say is bigoted. He's been on top of this, fully engaged from day one. All Americans returning from China were subject to extensive screenings and quarantines. Again, something the left wouldn't do. And to date, thankfully, 0 people in the United States of America have died from the coronavirus. 0. Now, let's put this into perspective. In 2017, 61,000 people in this country died from influenza, the flu, common flu. And around 100 people die every single day from car wrecks. Of course it's tragic. But despite what you hear, the world is not coming to an end. Of course it's serious. And as the disease continues to spread, the president has requested billions of dollars in additional funding. He has appointed the vice president to lead the response. The vice president is calling on all Americans to work together to combat this infectious disease. Democrats, the media mob, they're having none of that. Instead, they're more interested in launching vile, vicious personal attacks for cheap political points. Self-appointed science expert. Remember that congresswoman who predicted the world is going to end in 12 years? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted out, quote, "Mike Pence literally does not believe in science. It is utterly irresponsible to put him in charge of the coronavirus response as the world sits at the cusp of a pandemic. This decision could cost people their lives." Okay, and then she has her socialist pal, Bolshevik Bernie Sanders, also launched into a deranged tirade. He wrote, quote, "By picking Vice President Mike Pence to lead the administration's response to the pandemic, Trump has not only chosen someone completely unqualified, but the president has made clear he's more concerned about his own politics than the health and safety of the country." Basically saying the president wants you all to die. We can only assume that all of this and the following statements will be praising communist dictatorships around the world for stomping out the disease from their socialist hellholes. You know, the ones that kill people, innocent people, and steal their property. And sadly, the kind of political vitriol, well, that continued on TV, and we've got the video evidence. Let's go to the videotape.
Is that the person you want in charge of whether of the coronavirus outbreak, someone who needs to prey on something instead of looking at the science?
Why is Mike Pence in charge? What is his plan to stop the virus? Abstinence?
Because he insisted that Mike Pence can help make all of these various departments of government work, which would be true if Mike Pence is actually good at that. And we're not aware of any evidence that indicates that.
And coming up, Vice President Pence, he will join us tonight for an exclusive one-on-one interview. He will respond to these attacks, discuss the very latest details on how the administration is aggressively responding to corona. But it's clear the left's psychosis, their rage, is now reaching new depths of depravity. They're so desperate to reclaim their power in 250 days, destroy President Trump, that they are treating a deadly virus like a political weapon, a tool. It's shameful behavior. Shouldn't surprise us after all we've watched and witnessed the last 3 years, but it does hurt the country, does nothing to stop the spread of corona. A perfect example of this comes from Elizabeth Warren. Her plan for battling corona is to stop construction of, quote, Trump's racist border wall. That'll work. These people are not well. Let's be honest here. They don't have good intentions. What have they done the last 3 years to keep us safe and secure and create prosperity and jobs for the American people? Nothing, except hate the president. They don't have any good plans. They don't have any good ideas. They don't have any strong candidates. All they do is rage towards the president. It is a bloodthirsty lust for power, and it's really ugly and sick and dangerous.